Hey guys, I am in Atlanta for the AAR's regional conference. I got in last night, and anyway, the conference doesn't start until this evening, so I've had the day to kind of explore Atlanta a bit. I've driven through. I did martial arts for a while, and I went to tournaments in Atlanta, but I've never really been able to explore the city, and it's been cool to do that. It's a nice change from Charlotte. Um, I something I like to do when I travel is to check out the local, like, New Age, metaphysical, occult, Wiccan, whatever, bookstores and shops in the area. Just because, I mean, stuff like that's fun to do. But also because before I was, before I was working in academia and going back to school, I worked in retail, and I've worked in. Actually, this year is the first year since I was probably 15 that I haven't worked in some kind of shop. I've worked for large chain stores, and I've worked for independent retailers, and my experiences have kind of run the gamut. And it's very interesting to me to go to different sorts of metaphysical shops and see how different people run their stores. Just because, I mean, essentially everyone's carrying the same sort of merchandise, but the way that people organize their stores, the way that people advertise, the way that people run their stores, to me is very, very interesting. And it's interesting in part because New Age shops of various sorts generally do not have long lifespans. And it's interesting to me because I can go into a store, and most of the time it's really, really easy to see why stores go under. And I think a lot of it has to do, and this is true in music too. I've primarily worked in music stores. My best job ever was with an independent guitar shop. But I worked at a Guitar Center, and I worked at a Sam Ash, and I did all that stuff. And one thing that I've found in that sort of business, and I think this extends to bookstores of various stripes too, people assume that just because they love the product they're selling, that they're going to be good in sales. And sales is a completely different skill set. Being a great guitar player and loving guitars does not mean that you can successfully operate a guitar store. And the same thing is true of bookstores. Loving to read, loving books. I mean, I know I have this fantasy, and I'm sure a lot of you do. You know, the fantasy of having your own, like, occult bookstore or, like, witch supply shop or something. I mean, I definitely have that fantasy myself. But I think it's important to realize that just because we love those things, and we love the idea of, having a really warm, inviting, villagey bookshop with ivy on the walls outside and tea for customers and reading groups and a psychic reader and blah, 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 and whatever sorts of things you're envisioning. And I envision these things too, so, I'm calling myself on this too. Whatever we envision doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be practical and it's something that we can work. It doesn't mean, I mean, business is its own set of skills. And I think a lot of people forget that, and that's why so many businesses go under, usually in the first few months. And just to kind of give some examples, today I went to 2 local metaphysical bookshops here in Atlanta. And I won't say which ones, but you can tell a lot from a shop's webpage. And I always check out the web pages beforehand. And why any shop wouldn't have a website at this point is kind of beyond me, but there are still plenty of stores that don't. But if you go to a shop's webpage and it's poorly organized, it has flashy sort of GIF, images, or it looks like something you made on GeoCities when you were 14. I just made a reference to GeoCities, so maybe I'm giving away my age here. But if it looks like that, it's almost always a crappy shop. If there's not a lot of effort put into the website, there's very rarely substantial effort put into the store itself. Other things, walking into a store, it's really, really important to greet customers. I mean, it sounds stupid, but Like, it's really not. And I've had many experiences, and I had one today, where I walked into a store and the shopkeeper was obviously making some kind of personal call, talking about things that were kind of inappropriate for a customer to hear, and pretty much ignoring me. And there are a couple of reasons to greet customers. Number one is that it deters shoplifting and theft. I mean, that's kind of basic. If you acknowledge someone who's come into the store, you make eye contact with them, statistically they're less likely to rob you. Okay? So that's important. But beyond that, it's just a way of making your customer feel welcome. You don't want to ignore them, and you definitely don't want to, like, if you're on the phone or something, you don't want to, it's just like how people get annoyed when, I would get annoyed as a shop clerk, when people would come through my line and they'd be on their phones. I mean, that's just really, really rude. But that goes both ways. Unless you are making some sort of essential business call, you need to not be on the phone when you're checking someone out. It's just rude. It's just rude. And if you're interested, I mean, repeat buyers is what keeps shops like this in business. And treating a customer as though they're not there, or they're not a person, or they're not worth your time is not going to encourage repeat shopping. I mean, that's just simple, and it shouldn't even need to be said, but there you are. Second, just like general store maintenance. If stores are dirty, I mean, if it's obvious that the floor needs to be vacuumed or swept, or the shelves need to be dusted, I mean, it's just so commonsensical to me, and yet probably 60 to 70% of the New Age and metaphysical shops that I check out suffer from just basic neglect. They were opened by people who maybe didn't have sales experience, or aren't very good cleaners or something, or they're not very good at customer service. I mean, customer service is its own skill. Being really, really knowledgeable about paganism and being, an uber witch and having all kinds of super magic powers does not mean that you should be running a shop. I don't know, like, it just kind of astounds me walking into stores and, yeah, it just kind of blows my mind. And it's obviously it's not just New Age and neo-pagan shops. I mean, I think, honestly, this is the problem with a lot of independent businesses. And it's not just a question of, small shops being put under by big box stores. A lot of the times it's because the independent stores just suck. And that's just how it is sometimes. I mean, that's just kind of the economic landscape. And if it's something that you want to compete in, then you really need to be on your game. So anyway, I just don't understand. Like, it seems to be a particular problem with New Age stores. People open them, especially. It's primarily. I would say it's primarily women in their like mid to late 30s and up. And I get the feeling that it's a lot of the times it's people, it's their second job, or they've opened the store because they've retired from their main career or something. It's kind of like a pastime. And if that's something you can afford to do, then that's great. I could see where that would be very, very satisfying. But most of these stores go under in less than a year. I mean, it's pretty infrequent for one to stay in business longer than a year. And you'll find, I've found that the shops that are very good have been in business for a really long time. I went to one shop today that opened in the 80s, and it was fantastic. Their website was very, very professional. They had a number of very attentive employees. It was clean. Things were very well ordered. It was a really, really nice shop, and I was not surprised at all that it had been there since the 80s. So, I don't know, I think retail is really, really interesting, and so I kind of wanted to talk about this because I really enjoy traveling and checking out independent metaphysical bookshops, and I'm just so frequently disappointed. And I'm disappointed over things that would be very, very easy to fix. So, I don't know, I guess I just wanted to point that stuff out.